Bol Bol, son of Manute.
7'2" son of Manute.
Bol Bol.
He's the ultimate rim protector and finisher.
He's the truth.
A second-generation shot-blocking, lob-catching, three-point shooting giant, Bol Bol is one of college basketball's most unique and intriguing prospects, with all the makings of a potential top 10 pick.
It speaks to just how good he's thought to be.
No matter who drafts him, he'll be in next year's 2019 NBA draft.
The son of Manute, Bol Bol has been on the radar since his early teenage years, and NBA scouts got an extended look at him during Nike Hoop Summit Week, the Jordan Brand Classic, and most recently, the Nike Academy. Although not always consistent, Bol has the tools and talent to take the Pac-12 by storm under Dana Altman. Bol Bol has outstanding potential as a finisher given his combination of elite length, mobility, and soft hands. Here you can see just how easily he corrals the ball with one hand before fully extending, using that ridiculous 9'6" standing reach to finish. His catch radius is unlike any other big in the country, with only a few players in the NBA who can match his measurements. He's able to fully extend that 7'6.5" wingspan to snare lobs with ease, and he catches almost everything thrown his way. Although he moves mostly at one speed, Bol is really light on his feet and has excellent potential as a roller, should he ever buy into screening and diving hard. We may not see it much in the congested collegiate game, but Bol has the potential to develop into a point guard's dream who can space the floor vertically thanks to his tremendous tools. Physically, one of the only players in the NBA who can rival Bol's freakish measurements is Rudy Gobert. While far more skilled at the same age, 19-year-old Bol would be wise to study the Frenchman, as he's an excellent archetype for Bol to follow as a shot-blocking, rebounding, finishing center. Bol's main intrigue revolves around his defensive potential, particularly as a rim protector. Although he's still slight with an up-and-down motor, his mobility, massive reach, and natural instincts allow him to change games around the rim. He rotates from the weak side with fluidity, uncoiling that 7'6.5" wingspan to reject shots without even leaving the floor. His fundamentals and discipline aren't quite there yet, but he still impacts the game as a shot blocker with that freakish reach. His presence is felt even when he's not blocking shots. Here, RJ Barrett second guesses the three-pointer with Bol set to close out. Bol then forces a Barrett kick out in the paint and then eventually forces another kick out, deterring the shot at the rim. His rim protection is a factor as a post defender as well. Now, he's not physical and he has poor technique guarding on the block, but when he stays down on shot fakes, he's almost impossible for opposing bigs to finish over, as he's fairly quick off the floor and able to lean on that reach and timing to extinguish shots in the paint. Here he erases Jalen Smith's jump hook, and you can see the trickle-down effect of his shot blocking a few possessions later. Smith gets free for a paint touch, but doesn't want to challenge Bol this time around, opting to kick it out after a shot fake. Bol doesn't project as a switch defender in pick and roll, but his natural length should allow him to be an effective drop defender so long as his fundamentals improve. Like a Rudy Gobert type, he should be able to drop and corral the ball, forcing guards into contested mid-range jumpers or tough shots at the rim. Again, his motor and discipline need to improve, but he shows you glimpses of the type of drop pick-and-roll defender he could become. Bol's reach also allows him to bother jump shooters. Here he gets RJ Barrett on back-to-back possessions, fully extending to bother the mid-range jumpers. He covers ground effortlessly on the defensive end, and although he struggles to sit down and slide, he should be a major factor contesting on the perimeter. Bol's length and soft hands give him excellent potential on the backboards as well, as he showed during the Nike Hoop Summit by snatching 14 boards in just 28 minutes of action. Although his effort is inconsistent, he vacuums rebounds, barely having to leave his feet for tip downs. His rebounding radius is massive, and he snatches his own misses effortlessly. On the defensive end, he's not always disciplined with his box outs, and he can look lifeless at times, but his reach is a major factor. He has pretty good instincts as well when he's dialed in. Although not always revved up, he gravitates toward the ball when it's in his area. Situation will be key for Bol, because if he's challenged in a winning environment and playing with the motor he showed at the Hoop Summit, he has a chance to be one of the better defenders and rebounders in the NBA someday. Most of Bol's value comes on the defensive end at this stage of his development, but he's a unique offensive player with outstanding hands and a natural touch that extends out to three. As you can see here, Bol has somewhat of a shoulder push shot with an unorthodox finish, but he gets outstanding arc, touch, and rotation, sometimes splashing jumpers from all over the floor. It's rare to find bigs who can space the floor both vertically as a lob catcher and as a shooter, and Bol has the ingredients to do exactly that. According to Crossover's extensive database, Bol is a career 38% three-point shooter on 106 attempts, while shooting 80% from the free throw line. He's also really comfortable handling the ball for a 7'3" player, a perfect skill when coupled with his shooting. Bol has the agility and coordination to attack off the dribble when he's run off his spots, sometimes even mixing in crossovers and scoop shots. He's a natural with the ball in his hands, changing speeds and direction like a guard. He relies on these still developing perimeter skills too often, but his ability to make a standstill jumper and attack off the dribble with a variety of different moves makes him extremely intriguing offensively. Now, he can't hold his spot on the block, but he does have really soft touch on short-range push shots or jump hooks when he can get them off cleanly. All in all, he's a naturally gifted offensive player with the hands, touch, and handle to fit the modern NBA as he gains more experience. For as intriguing as his skill level is, Bol lacks significant polish and toughness on the offensive end of the floor. The first thing that stands out is his lack of screening, which should drive his future coaches crazy. It seems like a small thing, but it's an infuriating way to kill offensive flow. He generally walks into screens, keeping a narrow base and making no contact. As you can see here, because he's unable to make contact, Trey Jones is able to get through unscathed and steal the ball from Will Richardson. Here's Bol again, making no effort to hit on his screen, more focused on the pop that comes after, then firing an off-balance pull-up three. Now, this is an all-star game environment, but this is fairly common for Bol, and it's rare to see him set even one hard screen over the course of a game. From there, it's his reliance on wild, contested jumpers that's a bit concerning. Spacing the floor is definitely a part of what makes him intriguing, and it should absolutely be a part of his game at the NBA level. He just relies on far too many low percentage wild pull-up jumpers, especially given his fluidity, reach, and touch in the paint. Again, Bol's skill level is extremely intriguing, as you don't see players with that size, handle, and touch. But NBA front offices surely won't be drafting him to take a handful of off-balance, mid-range, hezzy pull-ups every game. For as naturally skilled as he is, Bol isn't a great decision maker at this stage. According to Crossover, he finished his high school career with over twice as many turnovers as assists, and his reliance on these off-balance pull-up jumpers should wear Dana Altman's patience thin over the course of the season. When Bol does try to play in the paint, he simply doesn't have the core strength to establish or hold position right now. His high center of gravity really hurts his ability to play in the paint, and he's not always able to show off that natural touch because of that. He's falling away from the rim on almost all of his shots in the paint, in part because of his contact-averse game, but also due to how he's built, with thin legs and high hips. As it does with most players, strength should come in time, and he'll likely become more comfortable in traffic. His decision-making should also improve, but it is concerning that he hasn't shown much as a passer since we started evaluating him both on film and live. Here, he struggles to get position on Charles Bassey, and once he finally does get a touch, he doesn't feel the middle help from RJ Barrett and simply throws the ball away at the first sight of pressure. He's not strong with the ball after rebounds either, here giving it away in the backcourt down the stretch of the Nike Hoop Summit game. Because his offensive game is likely to be predicated on skill over force given his body type, it's important that he improves his overall feel for the game, becoming a plus passer. In addition to his lack of offensive polish, there are major concerns about Bol's motor, as he plays at half speed more often than not, failing to box out on the glass or rotate defensively. He wants to coast at every chance he can, cutting corners to conserve energy. He had a reputation of skipping practices and even games at the high school level, and there are real questions about whether or not he can stay motivated once he gets to the NBA. He lacks discipline and toughness defensively and on the glass at this stage, which is clearly a concern when you consider those are maybe the two most intriguing aspects of his game. When he's in position to contest at the rim, he'll stand and watch at times. As you can see here, he makes a business decision to avoid the RJ Barrett poster. He bailed out on blocks a few times during the Hoop Summit game as well. He's a split second late off the floor at times, not always instilling the level of fear into drivers you'd think, given his length. Bol is also still quite raw as a post defender, even if he does rack up quite a few blocks in those situations. He'll go flying on shot fakes and doesn't know how to use his body to offer resistance, regularly turning sideways awkwardly, as you can see on this next possession. Because of his thin frame and high center of gravity, he gets buried in the post. There are real questions about his long-term durability and just how many minutes he'll be able to play over the course of an 82-game season. Bol's up and down motor, toughness, and lack of discipline shows on the backboards as well. He gets stuck between contesting and finding a body far too often. When he's in drop pick and roll coverages, he needs to do a better job recovering to his man as the shot goes up, working to get inside position. Here he simply turns and watches the ball while it's in flight, giving up the rebound and eventual score to Charles Bassey. Even when he is in decent position, he'll allow rebounds to fly right over his head to opponents. He's mostly an in-area rebounder, not all that willing to exert that extra effort to make a winning play. On top of his fluctuating motor and toughness, Bol isn't an ideal fit in the switch-heavy NBA, as he struggles to sit down on the perimeter given that high center of gravity. Is Bol impactful enough in other areas to be an NBA starter as a pick-and-roll drop defender, or is he more of a situational big who offers a unique blend of shot blocking and offensive skills? Because he's such a factor at the rim as a shot blocker, he's still valuable in drop situations, but his lack of switchability is certainly a concern amongst NBA teams. Then when he is in these drop coverages, he needs to do a better job of recovering to his man. He's still learning the ins and outs of how to bluff and recover and use his length effectively. He doesn't always contest either, and because he has to drop so far in the paint, Chris Paul-like point guards should have a field day. As you can see here, he also lacks a degree of discipline, not always squaring up the ball, taking bad angles, and swiping at passes. He gets caught with his hands by his side as well, which is a major waste given his unrivaled length. Teams will want to see Bol improve his technique and discipline as a perimeter defender, especially considering his limitations as a switchman. 7'3" with the agility of a wing, a standing reach like Gobert and Bamba, and touch that stretches all the way to 3. Bol Bol is arguably the most fascinating prospect in this draft. Some days he can look like he did at Nike Hoop Summit, snaring 14 rebounds and rejecting 7 shots. Then other days he'll bow out early, showing bouts of inconsistent effort that match up with his high school intel. Bol figures to be a polarizing prospect for front offices, who will surely exhaust significant effort between now and June to figure out exactly what makes this 18-year-old tick.